about a year ago, Matthew was sending me a ton of Huberman clips about how you shouldn't drink alcohol.
Yeah.
And how even one glass of alcohol is so detrimental to blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I really flipped. I was like, I don't know who the fuck this guy is. I was like, he needs to stop running his mouth. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. I was like, stress is the real killer. This guy's clear. I had immediately a viscerally bad reaction to Huberman. I was like, this guy's a control freak.
Same, yeah.
Obviously, I'm
you
an
don't
alcoholic.
you don't need an 8,000 word expose to tell you that there's something deeply wrong with Andrew Huberman. He's not a dark triad apex predator. He is a garden variety narcissist with addiction problems. He has millions of fans, and yet your average person hasn't heard him.
But I had a bad feeling about him when he came out against alcohol. I was like, no way, dude. Shut up.
So this is a guy who like goes on Rogan to sell people on the science behind toxic people, and then it turns out he's a toxic person himself. The problem with a man always working on himself is that he may also be working on you. So true, Queen. And the smoking gun of the story is that he was dating multiple women at the same time while promising them exclusivity. And the piece basically details like his toxic relationships with like half a dozen women, as well as a bunch of jilted colleagues and friends. And at first it appears that there's really nothing there outside of like gossip and invective.
It's sort of, it follows the format of like the tried and true form of a Me Too piece, where there's been some kind of like transgression, but all it really amounts to are these kind of like interpersonal like wrongdoings. He has not raped anybody or like
coerced anybody or groomed anybody. He's sexually assaulted, whatever. But the essay was pretty engaging. It was well written, but it's not what it seems. So it's by this woman who posed as a fan and went digging for dirt, and friend of the pod and also friend of Huberman, Sagar and Jetty, did a whole segment on all these friendly emails she sent to Huberman's team originally, and they never responded. So then she goes lower and lower down the totem pole and finds these like jilted exes and associates
who all the article keeps reiterating that they're not like, they specifically were kind of like ungroomable in their like pedigree and temperaments.
Because they were independent, successful,
that he was
attractive women.
He specifically was like a seducer of these kind of like high functioning, very like well presented kind of women.
I want to get to that later because it's a very important point. But of course it's like ironic to accuse someone of being a cheater and a manipulator when your idea of doing your job is literally cheating and manipulating.
You're a journalist,
and as I said, the story is not what it seems.
Don't trust anyone that tells you not to drink alcohol.
Yes, totally. They should be encouraging you. But, the whole Me Too angle is really the least interesting part of it. And as usual, the right-wing guys missed the whole point and made it into a story about how the Longhouse strikes again and just trying to clip the wings of successful white men.
Blah, blah.
And there is some truth to that. But I think what looks like a kind of sleazy takedown of the Me Too character of a guy who like technically didn't do anything wrong is really like an awesome and amazing case study in narcissistic personality disorder.
Yeah.
And it's a really incredible document.
It's
like
great.
Otto Kernberg couldn't have written a better case study.
Yeah, it's a gripping piece. It's on par with the Galliano doc, and it's like masterful kind of like narrativizing and like connecting of dots and stuff. Like it was a very engaging and like fun sort of to read, and the way that these, well, he had this main partner, Sarah, not her real name, of course, and how she, through like the will of her like organizational high executive functioning type A mind, was able to like connect all of these dots and join forces with all these other like jilted women
through Instagram, and then they became actually, so
who all were like signaling to one another through like a psychotic like liking of it's also all very undignified for women of this age bracket, I think, to be engaging in this kind of like Instagram like basically every woman described in this piece, I think, also is suffering from a kind of like narcissistic delusion.
Yes, they're also narcissists, but they can't acknowledge that, and he makes it easy for them to never acknowledge that because he's such a kind of like overt extreme case. Well, yeah, but that's like, the way our society functions. That's why TLP calls it a generational pathology, because nowadays when you try to broach this topic, everyone goes, well, you're projecting and you're the narcissist. You're trying to make a larger, more meaningful point. And when people are outraged by any talk of narcissism that doesn't involve or include them, that means they have suffered a narcissistic injury and are lashing out.
Yeah.
Lashing out.
It's, yeah, I mean, it's also typical and timeless for people, women and men both, to like, with narcissistic disturbances, to partner with people that are fundamentally like emotionally unavailable, because they then get to preserve their narcissistic idea of themselves as someone who is trying so hard to be with someone and is this perfect partner,
they want to
but
be
like
of
someone
service.
else is failing them, and like so they get to maintain their own delusions of like having been failed and disappointed by someone because they're the narcissist, but like really it's this like narcissistic like human centipede of just like people that are
of like
deranged and like ill-equipped really for like what real intimacy entails, which ultimately is sacrifice.
It's sacrifice, it's compromise, it's growing old together, which sounds nice, Haneke, L'amour, but it really means
no, it's
being there when someone dies or being the first to die.
And not even, and long before that, even like in sickness and in health, enduring all sorts of like, you know, like unpleasant and like incredibly mundane, like, it's
financial hardships, serious illnesses, infidelity, whatever, the list goes on.
Just like the mundanity of intimacy is intolerable to people like this because they prefer to have the drama of like the betrayal and the unavailability and and they get to imagine themselves as this like victim, heroine kind of person who has like, you know, done all the right things. It's just that this person fell short, but really it fucking takes two, and there are no victims, there are only volunteers.
I